diseases that we're seeing post-COVID and how it's affecting primarily women and what that means for weight loss resistance and why your immune system has everything to do with your metabolism, something people don't really realize. So we're going to drop in a bunch of questions. And then also, producer Keone is working through. And so I'm also going to be giving a lot of products away from our New Ethics and Vital stores. So make sure that you're staying loud and proud in the chat. You never know when I'm going to drop a care basket for one of you guys. If I do give away products for you, make sure that you message me your email, address, full name, and we'll get that out to you right away. We're going to go ahead and take some questions right now from the chat, and then I'm going to go to questions that I have from my stories where you guys all dropped all your questions on Instagram, and we got some of them featured today. PR Dawson asks, what causes ovarian cysts and how to prevent them? Oftentimes now, cysts can happen for many reasons. Big hormonal changes, from getting sick, certain medications can cause ovarian cysts. By and large, an ovarian cyst occurs because of the way that your body, when it takes insulin, so your ovary will take insulin, and through the cells of the ovary, it will convert and use insulin to convert progesterone into androgens or into estrogen. And if there's an interruption in that pattern, maybe you have way too much insulin spike, all right? Or maybe you had a really stressful event that made you slightly insulin insensitive, or you switched birth controls and your hormones changed really quickly. What can happen is because in the conversion, you start pumping out a bunch of excess androgens. That can induce the ovary to create a cyst. Now, there are multiple different reasons for cysts. That's one. Two would be having to do with ovulation and inappropriate ovulation. So a lot of times, like I said, coming back to this idea of insulin, if for some reason you have a big insulin or hormone shift and you're at ovulation, which is a period that your body is going to then, go ahead and you can prepare an egg. You're ovulating. So a lot of times eggs can get stuck, right? LH, FSH fires. FSH is follicular stimulating hormone. So it will induce an egg to come and pull out of the ovary, and it can get stuck, right? So that can be another reason. You have something called AMH, and that hormone has a lot to do with your fertility, but it also has a lot to do with your number of follicles that exist on the ovary, right? And so what happens is if your AMH gets too high, you can pop really large follicles and one of them can turn into a cyst. So these are multiple reasons. But a lot of times cysts have everything to do with big shifts in your hormones, stress hormones, sex hormones, or in your insulin. And again, so that's why people that tend to have PCOS or women that have really, really low hormones and have more androgen hormones than they do estrogen hormones, that can manipulate the way that you utilize insulin. And so that can have a really, really big impact on ovulation. And then at ovulation, things can get stuck or it can skyrocket your anti-Mullerian hormone, that is AMH. And so you can pop a bunch of follicles and one of those follicles can get really, really large. Over on TikTok, Erica Lugo, what's up, girl? All right, she hopped on here sharing some love over on TikTok. Thank you so much, Erica. I have now made the TikTok jump. You've been over here for a minute. Whitney says, mine is genetics and autoimmune that my mom has. Well, I keep it at bay from a strict diet. Well, Whitney, you're going to want to hang tight because I've got some really crazy information for you that I think is super important that everyone should know. PR Dawson says, how to overcome exercise intolerance. Really, really good question. So exercise intolerance is when maybe some of you drop a 1 in the chat. If you're someone who works out and you don't have the same response to your training anymore. Maybe now when you work out, you just get swollen, but you're not getting the positive training adaptations, right? So you will go through this. And anybody has probably experienced this before. Maybe you've worked out a lot, or maybe you're going through a breakup, or maybe you got really sick and you were in the gym. And now the gym is not giving you a positive response. Now it's making you swollen. you're not quite sure why, and then you're not building the muscle from it. It almost makes you feel like you're getting softer. That can happen from training. See, we got a bunch of ones in the chat over on my Instagram family. Again, at TikTok, if you've ever experienced this, drop a 1 in the chat. But what's going on is your immune system. So when you get really, really stressed out, or you get in a really bad emotional situation, or you overtrain way too much, that is a pro-inflammatory event that activates the immune system, okay? And the immune system runs primarily on sugar, okay? So if I get super stressed out for too long and I'm training a bunch, my liver is going to keep dumping sugar into the body. It's going to crank my aldosterone levels. So I'm going to get swollen. I'm going to hold on to carbs, but I'm not going to get into, it's going to interrupt protein synthesis. So that's why a lot of times workout intolerance is a pro-inflammatory event when you work out, but your body, due to oxidative stress, immunological factors, other imbalances, does not respond with an anti-inflammatory response. There's two parts to the immune system, the killers and the cleaners. And let's just say when you work out, you activate the killers. And then when you rest at home, you're supposed to activate the cleaners. And if you don't activate the cleaners, then things like workouts or sauna end up being a pro-inflammatory event with no payoff from a or an anti-inflammatory response. So that's why a lot of people, and you guys will notice this, is what we call workout intolerance. This is why some people, when you train too much, all right, this is why you start getting super swollen. Menopause will experience this. Women in menopause will start training, and they're not getting the pro-training adaptions. They're just getting swollen and softer. That's a really good question. Sage60 from Instagram asks, osteoporosis after 7 years of coaching. Bone builder and Australia. Osteogenetic loading at OsteoStrong. Protein at body weight. You helped me put on 20 pounds years ago. Yay, but I'm still losing bone. So, Sage, the big key for me, if you're eating enough food, you really need to use hormone replacement, estrogen, along with progesterone. So if you're still losing bone, then you need to crank your hormones up. And I also am a really, really big fan of continuing to take Ostera, which is good for bone turnover, continuing to take Calapatite, which has MCHC in it, which is complete bone food. But I really would encourage the use of growth peptides. I really, really like tesamorelin or ipamorelin, CJC with ipamorelin. These growth hormone factors help us maintain a skeletal muscle mass, which is what you're really talking about. And so that would be a big thing. And then again, resistance training. One of the best ways that you can continue to keep bone is resistance training. Oh, what's going on? Thank you, my friend, over at SW33NER. What's going on? Appreciate you. Thank you, brother, over on TikTok. Really good question. You know what? Let's see. Oh, next question. Clementine. Can autoimmune pain, fibromyalgia, be the result of your subconscious trying to process trauma? I was having pain after search and rescue missions from Hurricane Helene. Consciously, felt great. But so Clementine, really great question. So absolutely. So the central nervous system, which is the brain of your body, is intimately tied to the control of your immune system. As I said, there are killers and there are cleaners of the immune system. Killers are like M1 macrophages. You've got your monocytes, dendritic cells, and then your phase 2 are your T regulatory cells, M2 macrophages, okay? And so the thing that you need to realize is that what your nervous system controls what phase of your immune system you're in. So if I'm really stressed out, it's going to activate my immune system, which is going to, anytime I activate my immune system, I'm going to flare my autoimmune symptoms. But if I calm myself down and I get myself into a calm parasympathetic state, it's going to kick in my parasympathetic function, which is going to activate the healing part of my immune system, which is why people who are calm, right, that are centered, that are not in toxic relationships, environments, heal faster than people that are, because their immune system is working with them and not against them. Great question. You know what, Clementine? I'm going to go ahead and hook you up. We're going to give away our first care package away today to Clementine K. Clementine, we're going to go ahead and get you something to help you with your nervous system regulation. 2 products that I really like. One is Cortese. So we're going to send you a free bottle of Cortese to help calm your stress hormones, get water retention off of you. But also what I like for flares. So if I get if people get immune flares or get joint pain, is a product called Inflavinoid. And so I'm going to give you Inflavinoid and Cortese on me. Maddie, go ahead and let's get Clementine's information. Joyce over on TikTok says, what causes pityriasis rosacea? I thought it was rare, but I have it for the second time. Yeah, so Joyce, whenever you get heat rash or pityriasis or any one of these things, I think it's important to recognize that once you get it once, your immune system has memory. So you're 60 to 80% more likely to get it again. Many of the triggers that have to do with it are anything that is physical, chemical, or emotional, right? So let me give you a brief example of this. Switch down. So there are 3 stress pathways. So if I get an event, think of it like if I get heat stroke or heat rash, if that's my event, now I am 60% more likely to get it again, okay? So there are 3 pathways this can happen, all right? Physical, so that would be what? Overtraining, staying up too late, something like that. You've got chemical, so that might be medications I take, too much energy drinks, too much caffeine, birth control, all these things can irritate it. Or emotional. Okay, so this might be unprocessed trauma. This must be staying in a toxic, angry state or sad state. All of these things have the potential to reset off the initial response, because the CNS, the central nervous system, and the immune system have what's called memory, right? Bring it back to me. All right, and so what happens is one of the things that you can do for pityriasis, I'm a really, really big fan of, is it starts with the gut, and then you can also work on the skin, right? So, if you don't want it to happen again, I can give you you can meet with a coach for an hour who can go over it with you. You can put you through what's called the flush, right? Right now for Black Friday and everything, we got for $75. It's a simple diet plan you do for 7 to 14 days. Helps flush your system out, lymphatics, flush your gut out, calm your immune system down. Helps clear up a lot of skin conditions as well. But I would absolutely recommend a couple things when that happens. The first thing that I would do is a product called colloidal silver, right? Colloidal silver helps calm the immune system down. You want a dose of about the strength of 30 ppm, and I'd take a serving 3 times a day, alongside anti-inflammatories like curcumin, turmeric, NAC, vitamin D3, anywhere from 2 to 5 grams. But I can make this easier on you. If you just go to vitalcoaching.com, Joyce, and grab the $75 flush, it'll make a whole plan for you with protocol. You meet with a coach for an hour, and they'll give you a lot of value in a very short period of time. That way you don't have to buy a 3-month coaching plan to try to solve this. Space NFT says, is it easier to be in shape if you are taller or shorter? That's interesting. I don't think actually height does. In terms of if is it easier to build muscle? That has actually been proven it's typically easier to hold thicker muscle if you're shorter, 100%. One of the reasons is because it's easier to get into heavier weight. When there's shortest distance between 2 points, between my beginning lift and the end lockout set, the shorter the distance, the heavier the load can be. And so it's easier for smaller guys to lift heavier weight per their body size, which helps you with protein synthesis, muscle development. So definitely shorter guys got an advantage there. One advantage short guys have. Ben Swolson says, how do you control water retention for clients on exogenous testosterone? That's a really good question, brother. I really like that question. So the first thing that we have to understand is that I like to load testosterone slowly, but if you're talking about males, you kind of, again, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to get their water way up, right? So we want them to excrete more water, right? And so because more water out in is more water out. So of course we're always going to increase water, right? We're going to try to get them up to 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons, making sure that our ratio of sodium to potassium is a 4-to-1. Okay. That's why we got New Lights. Shout out New Athletes, New Lights. They're actually built to the science, unlike LMNT. Although if you're an athlete in the middle of a run, LMNT would be great. But what I like to do, if I'm being entirely honest with you, if you're starting somebody out, you have to tell them in advance. When you load in testosterone, the first thing that's going to happen is your total body water is going to rise, which is great news. But anytime your total body water rises, it's going to start extracellularly. So you're going to carry that water a little bit. So keep that water up to pull that off for at least the first 2 to 4 weeks, right? Then your body will slowly start to pull that water into the muscles so it fills your muscles out more. Over time, for women, it can take 8 to 12 weeks. Men, usually 4 to 6 weeks. And then if they're really upset about it, then you add in a thiazide, a low-dose thiazide. I would probably, I want to say dose of thiazide is 200 milligrams. I think 200 milligrams, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, use 25, start at 25 milligrams. I'm sorry, not 200, and use 25 milligrams. And that'll start, keep their water up. Over on TikTok, KRNMLL says, can a high protein diet, animal-based diet, cause hormonal acne in young women who has low hormones? So typically, if you're talking clean protein like steak, chicken, fish, typically not. No, typically not. Now, if they're eating more calories and they're working out a lot, that can make their body make more androgens, right? Which then may bring on acne on the face at first, because when women work out, they make more androgens. And that might be giving them more cystic-based acne. But animal-based protein, by and large, is one of the lowest, has one of the lowest chances of all foods of creating acne or acne-related issues or rashes or hiving. So, no, but that's a great question, brother. I'm glad you asked. Selena on Instagram, she says, "Hi, Vince. Hey, I'm on the flush. When I take OptiPure, my blood sugars are spiking up to 135s and running high, fasted as well. Should I work through it and wait for the numbers to come down?" Absolutely, Selena. Your blood sugars are high because your body's working really hard, okay? You're detoxing, so it's pro-inflammatory at first. So your sugars are going to go up, and we kind of want that. Make sure you're adding more Canabactin BR, which has the berberine in it as well. Taking that maybe every 3 hours could really help. Make sure you're sleeping a lot and you're not, again, keep it to walking and don't be training a bunch. Keep it to walking and don't be training a bunch. Oh, we're killing it over here on TikTok. Lacey says, can taking insulin cause you to go into perimenopause early? It certainly can, because it can be pro-inflammatory. Yes, it can. It's, again, it depends what your body weight's at, right? Also, just inflammation in general, if it's blocking estrogen. Fast correctly at